Mr. York, it's the warm tradition of greeting in Cornwall, in Cornish, sorry, So we will move straight on. The civilian respect pledge, I'm not going to read this out individually because I've heard a few things that is a bit too over the top. So we all know how it is that we're going to behave, and we all understand that. If I feel anybody's breaching any of that, I will deal with it at the time that we are in the room. Public participation. So I promised that we will get your opportunity this evening, Mr. Bennett. So, by all means.
Right. Good evening. I'm not here to offend anybody. I've got nothing against the gays and lesbians in this area or anywhere else. But the Pride started as a response to the police raid at Stonewall Inn in New York City in 1969. There was a great fight between the police and the gay community because back then you could be arrested for being gay. The unified symbol was not designed until 1978 by San Francisco artist Gilbert Baker. Designing the rainbow flag, they named it A Colour for Kids. In other words, to get children to come to say they could be radicalised then. Lesbian leader Bev Craig, on a documentary on radio and television as a guest, said that Pride had affected lesbians and gays in this country. She was against it. But the truth is, I am up for all the children in the world because of the Pride flag. It was there to radicalise children, to get them to change their gender.
Just a second, John, sorry.
Go on.
I've had a message said the sound isn't working.
Oh. Just as well, probably.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
I know I am offending them, but now they come up with the gender of children instead of sex of children. And they radicalise them. They have them take tubular blockers to change their sex and everything. And this is against what should be done to children in this world. I hope you understand what I've said. I'm not against the gay community whatsoever. The gay community, but the Pride is now, I got a picture on my phone that I could show you, because now thousands of paedophiles have joined Pride to get at the children.
Mr. Bennett, can I just stop you there for a
You
second?
can, by all means.
Right, it wouldn't be appropriate for you to be showing photographs of anybody, regardless of your views and opinion, and that's not relevant to council business, I'm afraid. So I absolutely accept your opinion, you have every right to have it, but I think we need to be careful that we're moving into the realms of accusatory behaviour which could cause problems. So I'd suggest that that wouldn't be appropriate for you to do it this evening.
I would like to pass this around to every councillor.
I'm afraid we won't be able to do that.
Why?
Because it's absolutely inappropriate for that to do it. It's not part of council business, and it becomes a personal issue, and I'm afraid that's not something we're going to participate in.
Well, the trouble is that Pride is now full of thousands of paedophiles.
But, Mr. Bennett, you're entitled to your opinion, I absolutely understand that, and you absolutely have the right to say it. However,
Yes, I'm standing up for the children in this world.
I fully understand that, I have no problem with it. However, there's a limit to what we can actually be prepared to accept in the council meeting, and it's absolutely inappropriate for us to be dealing with those sort of personal issues when you're sharing information with us that can't be validated one way or the other. So I'm afraid we won't do that.
You won't do what?
Share whatever the images are that you have, or whatever the information is that you have on your phone.
Would you like to see that?
No, absolutely wouldn't.
That's paedophiles in the Welsh Pride March. Look at the state of that man.
Okay, can I stop you there? Okay, firstly,
Stop me if you like.
okay, so as you just stated, that's Welsh business. It's not to do with Bude-Stratton. We're a Bude-Stratton Town Council.
Yes.
We deal with Bude-Stratton issues.
Right.
So if that's happening in Wales, I'm afraid that's something for them to deal with there, and not something that we need to be responsible for here with you. It's obviously a national issue, as you see it. I absolutely understand that, and you're absolutely entitled to your opinion, but it's not a matter of business for this council.
Do you agree with Brian?
It's irrelevant.
And they carry the big flag through the town.
Okay, so the request for the flag to be flown was made legitimately in accordance with our agreed protocol as a town council, and it was done for that time. It was agreed by this council to do it, and that's the only response I can provide.
Well, they have a month, yet the horses only have a day, the mothers only have a day, the fathers only have a day.
Okay, I take your point, and I think we've all heard the point that you need to make, so I now need to move on, because we've only got 15 minutes for public section, and I take your point.
That's
but-
fine.
but we now need to move on.
You understand what I've said, and
We
I'm
do.
not against anybody.
Yeah, that's fine, and it's noted, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, if I could, take
Yeah.
a few minutes of your
I want this to be relatively quick. We have 15 minutes for the public section, okay, so I need to get through this, and we will spend over 5 minutes on
There's
it.
an important
Yeah.
point to make. Sorry, I've got to refer to this, but it's printed out completely the wrong document when I was at home. So, last week, to be quick, I was one of several people who spoke with quite some feeling about an item on the agenda last month concerning the dams here. As I spoke, I noticed the clock nudged the mayor, and I wondered why that was at the time. I looked back at the recording of that meeting, and I believe the clerk at least noticed that in my words I used an expletive at the last meeting. So, to you all, without hesitation, I offer an unreserved apology for that language, to both yourselves and to anyone who's watching. And that is done and sincerely meant. From that, it occurs to me that some items on last month's agenda do need to be referred to in relation to item 14 on the agenda tonight. So, 3 items last week, what led to responses. The first was the potential of Cornwall Council Works at Corporate Airport. And they raised comments here that were, should we say, quite sincerely felt. The second was a suggestion from Future Coast View of moving the path on the dams. Again, lots of comments about that, because it was a subject that was close to our hearts, we say. Another thing that brought comment was a suggestion, I believe, from Councillor Boyd, that rather than the available funds being used to do either of those projects, that they instead be redirected to improve the resilience of the existing toilets at Crooklets. Now, lots of you will be aware that that question has been raised in social media this week, and in a few days, I believe Councillor LeBroy got overwhelming support for that suggestion, support larger in number than the responses to the Future Coast View survey. Take that on board, if you will. Last week, my language, quite frankly, came because I could not believe what I was hearing as suggestions for our dams. I'm a member of the Critical Friends group, the Future Coast View. I'm a local resident, lived here for an awful long time. In my view, and there still is no alteration in this view, local people will not want either of those projects on the dams. The third one, I believe, they would accept. Future Coast View can rightly point to 300 people responding to a survey and say that their findings are the will of the people by way of that survey. I would question the validity of a survey that gets 300 responses from 15,000 residents. I would also question how those responses were used to come up with the recommendations made. And I further suggest there needs to be a definition, almost a clarification. It's probably not going to be a popular suggestion. I believe there's a difference between local people and local residents. I think there was a difference in understanding in how the local environment works between those two groups. I believe that is what brought a result of the survey that I find incredible. Now, it's not the first time that, should we say, an interested party has obtained funding to put forward suggestions for things to be done in this town. I can think of three pretty recent ones. The first was from a body called the Town Team, who suggested improvements to the Shoot Triangle, basically paving it over and adding a few things. In my view, that idea was completely and wholly rejected vehemently by local people. Frankly, I couldn't believe it had been made. However, another one that brought a local question was the climate partnership, and particularly the climate theory recommendations for some of these car parks. In part, part of that is what we were discussing last week. There was no consideration of the breakwater allowed, and at the end of that body, for want of a better word, we were promised a public meeting and explanation. There was supposed to be a report published. Neither of those things were put to the public. There was no accountability, no transparency. It ended in a mess. Now that we've got Future Coast View and the discussions that we had last week, I congratulate Councillor Roy on getting what I hope will be rational discussions with whatever body needs to be talked to about redirecting funds from the Future Coast View pot to do those toilets at Crooklets. I think that is eminently more sensible than either of the other things that were suggested here last week. And finally, with reference to item 14 on the agenda tonight, there's scant detail there, but my feeling, having read it, is to say, hang on, what's this about? And it seems to me, my fear is that it is potentially the creation of a group within this group, I might say, that is going to be given devolved power and authority of some sort to decide things for us that I think the public may not agree with. I suspect we could have a repeat of the three organisations and the failings of those organisations as I see them as a member of the public. So what I would say to you is, when it comes to discussion of item 14, please. It's not item 14. It's not item 14.
Local priority statement.
This is very interesting because notice of full council meeting. Sorry, the notice of full council meeting, item 14. To approve the establishment of a neighbourhood priority statement steering group and delegate responsibility. Now, I have great doubts about the potential of the wording of that paragraph offers. So, I'm sorry to have gone on. All I would say to you is, please give the potential of that statement serious consideration, because I don't want to see any group created that comes up with ideas for this town, but when they're revealed to the public come out and say, you must do it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much. I'd rather not deal with that now. I'll be quite happy if I start that discussion at item 14 rather than do it now, because otherwise it's risk going to do it now and then do it again. So I take your points entirely. I'd save the responses until we actually get to that particular point.
So I was going to respond to the survey thing, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you're well aware, a few years back, we did a survey on the Downs with over 1,800 responses.
Yeah.
And one of the suggestions on there was to put a cycle path across the Downs, which is very similar to the footpath. And it was roundly rejected by a big majority. And just specifically on the way the data was presented with the most recent survey, doing this off the top of my head, so it might not be 100% accurate numbers wise, but it was 4 options. Do you want this? No. Low priority, medium priority, high priority. If you added all 3 of low, medium and high priority together, it just beat no. If you took it as a single value, what was the most popular voted answer? It was 46% no. So statistics can be used to prove anything. Depending on how you present those statistics, gives you a very different outcome. So some people, it was a very low priority, as in do it in 20 years' time when it's going over the edge of the cliff.
That is exactly why.
But it was presented as a simple yes or no response.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
So I think we understand that, and your point is well made, and we'll get to that at item 14. I just want to move on. Mr. Coe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to first of all apologise to Mrs. Glidden if I carried on when she explained to me that I was wrong on certain items last month, and she was in fact correct.
As always. You should never question that.
But I would also like to back up some of what Mr. Barrett has said about the future coast view thing. And I would like to hope that the town council as a whole could put forward that having, or if they would like to, each councillor to go out to their electorate and find out what they think about Councillor LeBroy's idea of, I was going to say, making Crooklet's toilets more sustainable at present, rather than putting new toilets down there, which will have a limited lifespan, and removing the idea of doing something to the grass overflow car park that they've done, that Cornwall Council have done to Widmer, I hope will be soundly rejected. And if they want to spend money in it, which I don't see that they, I think a lot of people I've talked to would rather they did nothing than actually do something that is detrimental to the town. I'm sure removing the stones from the top end of Crooklet's Beach and placing them at the bottom end of Crooklet's Beach to work their way back up will also help to the flood defences, or the sea defences rather than say flood defences, from not having large boulders smashing up against concrete every 5 minutes. So I would like to just say good luck, Mr. LeRoy, or Councillor LeRoy, in your efforts, and I hope the Town Council feels the same way and would strenuously lobby Cornwall Council. And I would point out that my councillor, who is not Councillor LeRoy, hasn't, as far as I've heard, actually said anything on the matter. So I would like to hear that from our local representative.
Okay, I'm sure you can have that discussion with him, I think, rather than having this now.
But
If it's not you, Peter, then it's not necessarily for you to reply at this stage, unless you feel that there's a need.
But I just want to say, I will be making a statement about Crooklets when it's mine.
Yeah, so you will hear exactly where we are with it at the moment, but I don't want to put your individual council on the spot here.
No, it wasn't. Well, what I did was hoping is that the Town Council, as a total, will lobby Cornwall Council strenuously in support of Councillor LeBroy.
But we have our appropriate Cornwall councillors here, and obviously we can have those discussions, so yes, we'll take your point. Mr. Jordan.
Thank you. On the 2nd of July, 26, with Councillor Jens, I visited the Truro and Laddock areas, both of which are extremely important to me on a very personal basis. There are lots of buses, people walking and cycling. My statutory corners taxi shop until after lunch, when on Lemon Key, there were two such shops. But I'm sure that Councillor Jennings will have something to say about buses. Last evening, Buchanan Harvest Society had a social event at the Barnes Workshop. All the trustees attended and 3 members of the pub. I noted that the potholes have not been filled in, which has been promised for over a year. And I think one of NCH's trustees will want to ask a question. Won't you, Marty?
I know I asked it last time.
Just wait for Mr. George. Have you finished?
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
He's one of my dear minions.
Yes.
I know I asked the question last month, but a month has passed, and I know the potholes have not been filled in. I wonder what the council has done. Has it been allocated to a committee or?
Yes, the facilities manager has obtained a quote, so that will be looked at and in order for the work to be done as quickly as possible by any time when it is really busy for the team themselves. So it will be done at professional standard by people who've got the right skills and equipment. And so that quote has come in and will be assessed and the work will be proceeding as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So can I
Yes.
just quickly add, it has been noted that the memorandum, which is really important, is disappearing.
Thank you. It's with the F&E committee. So it's an F&E committee. I think it's on their agenda. So I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to receive apologies and accept reasons for non-attendance.
We've received apologies from Councillor Francis Richards and Councillor Alsbury Hopkins for personal reasons.
Thank you. To receive declarations of interest on items on the agenda and agree any dispensations. None. Okay, it's my report relatively quick this month really. I haven't had any official functions to attend this month. The Deputy Mayor has. Wednesday the 24th, the Deputy Mayor represented BSTC at the High Sheriff's garden party. The High Sheriff's Harriet Hills. As a consequence of that, she is looking to visit Bude. She's particularly interested in youth provision locally and is looking to come and see us, which would be delightful, obviously, for Ian and others to organise. But she's looking to do that in the relatively near future. Deputy Mayor also represented BSTC at the Soundwaves charity event on the Castle Lawns last Saturday. It was a really excellent event, and if you're not aware of the charity, they are a well-established charity locally, providing music therapy for young people, instrument loans to young people as well, and school music workshops amongst a myriad of other things. They're a fantastic local charity, do a great deal of work for youth provision musically in particular, and music therapy is particularly important. Locally, it's well needed. That concludes my report. So, to note reports of call councillors. Faye, would you like to go first or Peter?
Yeah. I think everyone's probably aware that the A3072 will be closed overnight from the 6th to the 18th of July for resurfacing. But that is overnight from 7 p.m. until 6 a.m. And I've been assured that access will be maintained for residents along that stretch. I attended the Stratton Hospital Fete a couple of weeks ago, which was it was a lovely sunny day. It was very well attended, and I think generally successful. On the pothole situation, I think Pete might be able to remember the numbers, I can't, but overall, in terms of potholes in Cornwall, I think the backlog has been sorted out, but I'm still getting plenty of complaints about them locally. So please do pass them on. If there's one that's bothering you and you don't think action is being taken. I've been in communication with the Vistry again this week about the Shawlands estate, and it's probably not the best news, but I won't go into detail of that And I've also been in communication with residents and the planning officers dealing with the Mare Main campsite where there's been a flooding problem. And work has started this week on the current plan, which will hopefully remedy the surface water flooding problem that's been caused by the campsite as it is at the moment. So I think that's probably all I wanted to say, really.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone? No?
I don't know my numbers on my roads. Where is that? But that's going to be.
So it's in Stratton from, basically it's round about where the toilets are. The work will start there, going up towards the red post, that stretch.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But the whole road will go from.
Yeah, the Vistry Homes, I'm glad you mentioned that one because there's one that I was hoping the planning committee might pick up. Is there any thing the planning committee could help out with that one? I mean, I was suggesting that maybe we kind of invite Vistry Homes to come and address the planning committee and use it as it possibly won't do much good for the shorelands estate, but for future developments, put them on the spot, and it can be used, possibly used as to preempt these problems in the future. Do you think there's anything we could help with?
Possibly. They have offered another site visit or a Teams meeting, so they may be willing to come and talk to you. I think it is really complicated, and I think that probably enforcement action should have started a while ago, and that might have, I don't think it would have had an impact, it might have done.
I just think,
I'm happy
sorry.
to brief you on the detail.
That would be good, yes, please. Yeah, if we
Yeah,
could.
I think it is, legitimate concern for the plan.
I just think that as well, apart from anything else, the residents need to know that their town council, planning committee, or the town council as a proper body is concerned about their plight.
Okay. Peter?
Thank you. There was indeed an email that came in at 5:15, so I was just trying to read it so I could give you an update, but I can't take it all in. So I suspect Faye will probably want to report next meeting.
Quite a long email.
Yeah. Right. So, Orthuga Dar, Two South Porth Bude. I stumbled on that one. Good evening, people of Bude in Pernewick. So the first thing I want to say is to reflect on that Facebook post that I did last Friday. I did a video and a written piece talking about the possible future of the green overspill area of Crooklets car park. I was intrigued to see that Facebook post actually got more traction than any other post I've ever done in my time as a councillor. It got 46,500 views, which is astonishing. And I got 485 comments, and they're not just simple comments. They're comments where people are actually putting a point of view, and will be described as I've forgotten the word when you do a qualitative comment, which is what when people do surveys, those are the comments that actually really have value. So they have to be taken seriously. Now, intriguingly, it got something like I think nearly 80 or 90 shares. And throughout that sharing process, I think there were another 200 or 300 comments that I didn't really even have time to look at. But overwhelmingly, when I got my artificial intelligence agent to look at the and decipher the comments, it said that 90% plus were absolutely against any further development or any change at all to Crooklets Green. So I can give you a statement now that's been authorised by Cornwall Council, which reads, "We're not going forward with the Crooklets works. We're exploring other project options with the Environment Agency. We have not yet taken these decisions through our formal governance for decision making." So you can take it that Crooklets grass overspill will remain as such, and those other projects that you described are being looked at. I would much rather the money stayed in Bude, but it may well be that we have to pass the money on to other communities in Cornwall that have got projects that are ready to roll for spend within the period that the Environment Agency requires the money to be spent on. But I'm asking council officers to bend every sinew to try and keep the money imbued if we possibly can. Shall I finish and then take questions? Is that okay?
Well done.
Thank you. So Holnacott Road, Councillor Herbert Coulson is aware, but I need to say this out loud. That's going to be closed for a gas main renewal for much of the summer holiday. No impact on the rest of town. I have investigated, and the gas company needs a certain window of time in which to complete the works. And they also have an embargo on doing those works within school term period. So the summer holiday is literally the only time where they haven't got the time window available to do it in. I'm not particularly happy. I'm sure Councillor Herbert Coulson isn't very happy. I don't suspect anybody faced with delays in Bude will be very happy. But if we want gas infrastructure, I'm afraid that's the price that we're going to have to pay. Leading through things that happened this month, Mayor, you didn't mention the leader visit on the 12th of June.
No, I didn't.
So we had the leader of Cornwall Council visit across the area.
I thought I'd leave that to you.
Thank you. The Mayor kindly convened a round table here where lots of young people as well came in and had an interaction with him. It was a really interesting day. I enjoyed it. I think he enjoyed it. We had the bus day on the 19th of June, which was very well attended by many councillors. I don't want to name them, but I can see them around the table. I should apologise to Councillor Jennings because we did have a follow-up session which you should have been invited to.
Yeah, well,
it was absolutely my fault that you weren't in.
I've had enough.
Sorry.
I'm giving this bloody transport business up. I'm sick and tired of people going around me, behind me back and not telling me what's going on.
It was,
somebody else can take it over.
it was cock up over conspiracy.
No. I was talking to you in the bus doorway. The next thing I look around, you're all walking off across the car park.
No, it's my fault.
Yeah, well, don't worry. I am not doing this transport business anymore.
Right.
Get some other bugger to do it.
I was pleased to attend the raising of the Armed Forces flag on the 22nd of June at County Hall to represent Bude-Stratton Town Council, and it was Cornish Language Week 21st to the 29th of June. And I did look up the number after Councillor Emery mentioned it. The potholes now, we had a high of 6,000 live reported potholes. We're now down to 708, which is in line with what we would expect at this time of year.
Yeah. Holding the car park at
More questions relating to Councillor Joyce? Tom?
Yeah, I was going to mention something, and I'm glad you raised the leader's visit. Slightly lateral, but I hope it's okay. Relating to your comments you made about the gatekeeper and stuff like that recently, bearing in mind that I had the distinction of being there at the launch of getting Councillor Frost's political career off the ground 10 years ago. I would have thought, yeah, like you said, there was various people addressed, they met, had the opportunity to meet and tell their story, whatever. Would it not have been reasonable to expect that the success, dare I say, of the Hill Valley Trail project could have been acknowledged at least at a Cornwall Council level? It has been acknowledged by the Mayor, but other than that, not really being acknowledged at all by Cornwall Councillor or Cornwall Council level. And I just thought that perhaps, maybe I'm wrong, but with the leader of Cornwall Council here, it could have been, at least have been acknowledged.
I'm a bit lost for words, Tom. It was really the Mayor's day, and he laid on a whole number of different things. But if you feel that you've been left out, maybe I should look at trying to remedy that for you.
It was a question, but I'll leave that entirely up to you. It's just that, it was you who mentioned about the face fitting the mood of the gatekeeper, and I'm not suggesting that my face doesn't fit with the mood of the Mayor if you were the gatekeeper, but
Yes.
I'll leave that with you then.
Received.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, as a member of the public, Peter, thank you for the effort that you put in regarding the dams. Congratulations on getting the ears of Cornwall Council, at least for a while. I do wonder if there is any take-up of your suggestion of a diversion of funds to the toilets at Crooklets. Because I would have thought local opinion was very obviously that was favoured. And if Cornwall Council or the fund-holding body ignores that, I think it's something that's slap in the face for the public.
So I should say, I put 2 projects up in my response, but people started misconstruing and misunderstanding what I was saying. So I actually edited the post and took those 2 comments out. But I'll say them now, so it's on public record. You're absolutely right. I would like Cornwall Council to invest in the toilets, which they incidentally, I don't think we did the freehold on. I think we are the leaseholder of those toilets. Correct. So we could divert some of the money into that to make them more resilient to occasional flooding when we have these high tide and severe weather events. So absolutely, that's one of the projects. The other project that I wanted them to look at, and I know that we've probably all had enough of studies, but I don't think there's been sufficient work done on understanding the conflict between fresh water coming down the River Neat and salt water on the seaside, and that tide blocking effect. And I believe, and this is not scientifically based, but I personally believe that conflict point in terms of severe storm event, a spring tide and an inland weather event is where we are most likely to see a flooding event for Bude. And I would like Cornwall Council to put some of the money into a really in-depth study of the dynamics of what is going on in that area.
Yeah, just in response to that specific point, you and I both know, because we've heard it in meetings with Future Coast Bude, about the supposed computer study, the wave analysis, for want of a better word, of what is happening or what could happen in the area of some of these, for example, with failure of a breakwater or different scenarios that are possible. We were told at that meeting, as far as I'm aware, that those studies would be done and we would be given results. Now, I've heard suggestions that we're going to have a pathfinder, which didn't go down too well. I've heard absolutely nothing about the result of any computer study. And that kind of makes me feel that they're talking about rearranging the chairs on the Titanic, but they're not aware of, through the computer modelling, of what a very serious problem could be.
So the next stage of the work of Future Coast Bude is the CCMP, the Coastal Change Management Plan, which this council has agreed to do. And I've spoken separately with the mayor about this. I believe we should be really working hard to make sure that we properly engage with that process. And the work that I just described needs to be part of that plan and part of that work, so we understand what's happening down at Summerlees and manage that area appropriately. And it won't have been missed, I know, by you, that Summerlees is an entirely man-made construct. Right? And if we need to look to the future, we need to understand that point from the very start.
Yeah. I take on board that people don't want on Crooklets what we're seeing out of Woodmouth. However, I do feel that there is a sort of lighter touch approach that could have been brought to play rather than a all or nothing. I could imagine it's sort of levelling out of that grass area on Crooklets, a kind of importation of some sort to sort of balance it up a bit and maybe marking it out football pitch style to formalise car parking spaces, things like that that could have been done more sympathetically than what has been proposed. So I'm not disappointed that what was proposed has been rejected. I'm kind of disappointed that we've got this all or nothing approach. And I'm also disappointed to hear that potentially some, if not quite a big chunk, of money that was designated for this community is going to go elsewhere. Because although we may disagree about what projects we want, I think we all agree that over the years, insufficient money has come into Bude. And organisations like the Town Team, organisations to some extent like the Bude Climate Partnership, were attempting to bring money into the town. And we might say, well, you know, better no money than money spent doing the wrong thing. But at some point, we've got to stop being no to everything. And I'm rather concerned that we're going to lose the potential to do some good stuff because we don't want to do things to the car park.
Thank you. Right, I'm keen to move on, so I'm going to start you, and then I'll let others answer.
This business, the grass and that down Crooked's car park, it's a dangerous place to sit when they're playing cricket, you know. No, I ain't joking. That means many a time the ball gets whacked into that car park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to strongly disagree with Councillor Cole. I think that anything that has proved, Councillor Broad has proved that the town is more interested in getting the right thing done than doing a complete mess up. Mr. Barrett has pointed to a few examples, and I'd like to point to another example. A lot of money was spent by Cormac and the Cornwall Council to de-silt the canal. And if you ever wanted to see a bigger waste of money than that, you will find you won't believe the mistakes that were made and the fact that the silt is already back there. The upper echelons of the canal are silted up and have been for years. They haven't been cleared out, and that sort of area is part of the whole of the floodplain, shall we say, defences. So I've got to say that too much money has come into Bude and been wasted. When it comes in, let's use it properly, please.
Thanks very much. I'm going to allow Paul to talk, and then I'm going to move on.
A very simple one, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. One for Peter, really. In good old days, John Staple used to daily check the breakwater. That doesn't occur anymore. There's another hole there, just to let you know, because we've had a few surfs lately. You know, but nobody does it on a daily basis. That's the trouble.
So I think the harbour master does inspect it, not necessarily daily, but at least weekly.
Is it under his brief?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so moving on. To note any reports in committee chairs or representatives outside the office. Do we have any committee chairs like to make a report? Any outside, Tom?
Just mention very briefly some good news. I think it's good news in here that the decision has been made on the Burn Park planning application. It's been decided along the lines that we were given to believe it would, and the gap between Fletchery Puffle and Bude-Stratton is being maintained. And a large part of that planning application has been refused. So, I, for one, am very pleased about that.
Any other reports from any other chairs? Any outside bodies? Vicky?
Wearing my Bude Canal and Harbour Society hat. There was an open evening at the Barge Workshop last night from 7 till about 8. Quite a few people turned up, and it was a very enjoyable evening. And thank you to F&E for sweeping out the place so it looked better. But the car park really does need sorting.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so moving on to approve the minutes of the previous full council meeting on the 4th of June 2026. Anyone like to propose that? Well, I'll propose it. Anybody want to second that? Seconded. Everybody for? Anyone against? Any abstentions? 2. Thank you. Committees to receive and note the minutes of the committee meetings below. Planning Committee on the 10th of June. Opposed? Seconded. Carried on 4. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. Corporate and Democratic Committee on the 18th of June 2026. Opposed? Seconded. Carried on 4. Anyone against? Any abstentions?
If I look back, because I was reading, sorry.
Which would you want to do?
First one, 4, sorry.
Yeah, 4, okay.
Apologies, sorry.
That's all right, thank you. Okay, to approve finance report, schedule of payments made, to be made on the 3rd of July, which is attached to your minutes. Any questions related to that? Starting.
Are we giving future Coast Bude mileage?
Anyone want to answer that?
Oh, it's reclaim. We're not paying, we're reclaiming.
Reclaiming.
You do reclaim anything from station.
Any other questions? Paul?
I did notice that there is a grant awarded to lots of local bodies. Do the local bodies have to apply, or what is the setup there? Because we have new people on the Seapool committee. We've got no idea what's going on. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll propose that you note those. Everyone seconded, everyone for? Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. Schedule of payments made between the 12th of June and the 2nd of July, which is also attached. Any questions? Yeah, I'll seconded. Any questions? No. Everyone for? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Okay, number 12. Consider a request to permit dogs in the triangle to Bude Animal Friends Awareness Day and approve any associated actions. Ian?
If it helps, Mr. Chair, I can read the email we've received. That's helpful. Skipping the hit high, hope you're well. As you know, we've successfully, with council permission, been allowed dogs in the triangle during our event in 2024. We supply clear signs, poo bags, and lots of cold water. Dogs must be on leads and under the full control of the owners, and we would ask anyone who felt this did not apply to leave. We check at the end of the event and clear any rubbish, and I can honestly say there's only ever been the odd sweet wrapper or cigarette, but with no dog smoke, and never any signs that a single dog has been there. It's always been so successful and appreciated by all the animal lovers locally who want to visit and support the various rescue and animal charity volunteer groups. I very much hope that it will be possible again to involve dogs in our one-day event in September.
We've done this before. We've only ever received positive feedback, so I'm just going to propose that we do it again.
Peter's looking at me. Yeah, I'll accept that. Peter, what do you want to say?
So I spoke against this last time around. Not everybody is a dog lover. We have vast amounts of our downs, cliffs and beaches where dogs can run free. The Triangle is a very one of very few dog-free spots in the town, even though I do occasionally see people with dogs in there. But dogs can't, we can't blame them for it, but they do defecate and urinate in public spaces. And if they're in the Triangle, they will do that. So when children are playing, it could well be that they come into contact with some of the remnants that's left behind. Personally, I think the Triangle should remain dog-free all year round.
Okay, thank you. Elaine, did you have an eye on that?
I was going to second it, sorry.
Okay. Vicky?
I would just say that, as Mike has said, it's been very successful in the past, and it seems a bit hypocritical to have an Animal Awareness Day and then not allow animals.
Yeah, I was going to second, and I think I said last time Pete objected that Toxicara, which is the big bad one that can potentially make children blind, that only occurs when owners don't pick up the poo. it's got a sort of incubation period. So if the poo is picked up from the dog pretty much straight away, then the danger of toxicology is insignificant. And everything else that might come out from the dog, if there's a little bit of rain, it's really not going to cause a problem.
Can I throw something quite lateral into this?
How unusual.
Because dogs for example, this is relevant to Hill Valley Trail and other public spaces like that. The advice now from DEFRA is that you should, even where there's rough areas, that you should pick up after your dog. Secondly, if you should not allow your dog to go in the river. Now there's one reason for this, and it's something I have major disagreement with my own profession about. That is the fact that if you go to take your dog to the vet now, you're strongly advised, almost pressurized into having monthly treatments of flea and wormer, which is ivermectin based. And of course, when dogs defecate in the wild, it kills off enough of the drug excreted to kill off the germs that feed off it and deal with it in the usual manner, let's say. Also, of course, dogs going in the river, if they've been treated with this stuff, there's the risk of some being washed off and affecting the fish life, the pond life, river life. So that is it's the lateral, as I say, to the triangle issue, but it is, I'm afraid, it does get me kind of worked up a bit that all this stuff is being thrown at dogs quite unnecessarily, and it is impacting negatively on the environment.
Thank you. We will feel more educated, I'm sure. Paul?
Yeah, I was just saying, it says Animal Awareness Day. I'm not aware they've seen a Pussycat Awareness Day or a Stoat Awareness Day, or, it's not really an animal awareness day, it's a dog day. That's what it is.
We had a fill this out, didn't we? Last meeting.
What is that?
But dogs on beaches and that.
Yeah, you should have given it to.
Well, I tried to, but they didn't. They should have got ignored last time. And I've sort of filled it in. So what do we do with it now? Do I send it off?
Do you have any comments relating to the item on the agenda?
The item on
the item on the agenda we're talking about is the Animal Awareness Day and Triangle.
Yeah, well, I've just remembered because this got put off for the last meeting.
That's fine, but that's not what we're speaking about at the moment.
Well,
perhaps afterwards.
I propose that dogs are banned from everywhere, including the triangle.
We've already got a proposal that's been set.
And from the Hill Valley Trail.
So in order to move on, Mike, just remind us your proposal, please.
We grant permission for them to have them in there for 1 day for their.
And Kevin, you seconded that, is that correct? Okay, so everyone for? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Number 13, to approve terms of reference for the committee terms of reference working group. Anyone want to lead on that?
Propose it, accepted.
I'll second that. Yeah.
Okay, everyone for? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Okay, so to approve the establishment of a neighbourhood priority statement steering group and delegate responsibility for agreeing the group's terms of reference and membership to the planning committee. Who wants to explain that?
Yeah, I'll start, if I can start by telling Mr. Barrett that if it's any comfort, I don't share your concerns at all, because this neighbourhood priority statement will have even less teeth than the neighbourhood development. So don't worry, it will not. But anyhow, there was a few things I wanted to say about this, we had there was quite a robust conversation, if I remember rightly, at the May meeting between yourself and Councillor Doyle about the whole thing of committee discussing matters in detail at committees and then making recommendations to the full council. And much to my disappointment, there was I was hoping for a discussion at the planning committee about this concept and coming up with a recommendation for the full council. But there was very little discussion at all. And it was basically, this is what common council say we must do, so this is what we must do. The other point I would make is there was mention earlier on today of people having put a lot of work to various matters. Well, for my sins, I put an awful lot of time to researching the whole concept of neighbourhood priority statements and attending all the online updates, etc., and doing a lot of reading, and they will have very little impact. They will be used by common council when they're drawing up their new common local plan. They will be taken into account. So they'll be put into the mix with all the other parishes and towns, and bits might be taken out. But as with all neighbourhood development plans and neighbourhood priority statements or common local plan itself, will have to comply with national planning policy. So there is very little influence at all on the in my opinion, on the new common local plan. I suppose the other thing is there was very little discussion about, how much time we want to put to this, given all the other priorities of the council, all the officer time, etc. That we had, there was no. I was disappointed. Let's say that there was no discussion at all about the pros and cons. But it was decided that we would. Oh, the other thing that when we discussed this over the last 18 months, we have, and there's no reason why we shouldn't, but we talked about the need to take into account development in the neighbouring areas and the impact that we were talking about flooding, the impact of increased water runoff from increased development around the area, impacting on potential for flooding. But our decision then, bizarrely, was we'd only concentrate on Bude-Stratton, which.
Tom, can I just because I'm not entirely sure, unless I'm missing the point, I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about is, because what we're being asked to do is approve the establishment of a neighbourhood priority statement agreement and delegate responsibility. I'm not entirely sure what I'm hearing from you is relevant to that. You're talking about flooding in why is that relevant to us approving the?
Well, I thought it was, but if you're not.
Well, no, I'm just asking. I don't understand it.
No. Okay, I think that there should be a planning committee and back with a recommendation. In my opinion, but I suspect I'll be in a minority. So,
okay.
I'd just like to say what Tom is saying is factual, and there's no point discussing anything prior to Cornwall Council totally ignoring it. Why don't we see what Cornwall Council comes up with and then we discuss? Because I agree with you, there is no link between us and others, and the catchment area does impose, whatever it's doing on us. So I just wait until county come up with their plans, which are obviously going to be so perfect that we won't, disagree with them.
Okay, thank you. Peter, would you like to respond to that?
I just wanted to give a positive glow to the neighbourhood priority statement. It's sometimes easy to forget that with our neighbourhood development plan, actually it did act very successfully on our behalf. Sorry, Tom, I feel I'm looking at you, but I'm actually looking at everyone. But some of us around the table may remember that there was a proposal to develop all of the Bagbury side of the road of Kings Hill down towards the River Valley. I think, Mr. Mayor, you might have been on the planning committee, might have been chairing the planning committee, and that proposal came forward. And it was only the fact that we had a strong neighbourhood development plan in place that enabled us to fight that off, because there was talk about a whole new entry point into Bude as well, which I personally didn't support. There are other areas of Bude that if we have to have further development, I could accept. The Bagbury side definitely isn't one of those. And I think having a neighbourhood priority statement does lay down on a map where we might be able to tolerate some future development and where we might not. I don't like disagreeing with Councillor Tilsey, because he's normally right on almost everything. In this case, he isn't. It's no good waiting for county to put a plan forward, because by the time they do that, it's too late. That's the plan. So we're far better to prepare ourselves in advance. It doesn't have to be a particularly onerous piece of work, but I would celebrate the fact that we should be doing this. And if anybody hasn't made the formal recommendation, I propose that we establish a neighbourhood priority statement steering group and delegate responsibility for agreeing the group's terms of reference and membership to the planning committee.
Can I just come back? I'd like to.
I think there's a real risk of this becoming a secular argument. Much as I don't want to disagree with my learned friend to my left, who's very good at the detail, I actually think we've already had this discussion at the planning committee, and we agreed that we would go forward with this, because I think we've got to actually put our case forward so that Cornwall Council listen to it, rather than say, well, we asked and you never said anything.
I wasn't suggesting we don't, but Councillor Broyd actually raised a very relevant point there about the neighbourhood development plan, because I didn't realise, in spite of having attended various updates, etc., I didn't realise that, you know, we could use our neighbourhood development plan as our neighbourhood priority statement. So there's the possibility that we could look at upgrading the neighbourhood development plan as a neighbourhood priority statement. And I'm just saying, and I'm sorry if it's boring, but I'm just saying that we didn't. There's other options. Options around this that we could consider and haven't.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Did you have a point?
I was a little bit concerned that as a full council we were keeping work on a rather reluctant planning committee. But as Jeremy has sort of enlightened me that this has already been discussed at the planning committee, I would suggest that it is probably for the planning committee to work through how they want to approach this, and whether they want to take the existing neighbourhood development plan and tweak it, or whether they want to do a new piece of work. But I suggest that for me, around this table, I am reluctant to kind of instruct the planning committee how to do its job.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, I would just like to withdraw my statement in Mr. LeBoy's very accurate statement.
Thank you, Paul. Darcy.
We're on a planning committee and we talk about everything, and then Cornwall Council go exactly opposite to what we've said. So what is the point of us spending hours doing something and they're going to ignore us anyway?
Well, that was sort of the point I was trying to make.
They may ignore us more if we haven't said anything.
I don't think they could ignore us much more, Jerry, in all honesty.
Yeah, okay. Right, so
I was going to second the proposal and say move on.
thank you. Greg.
Yes, similar point in a way. I think we did discuss this at the planning committee, and the reason it came to full council was because at the planning committee, I'm sure we thought full council should be aware before forming the steering group. So I think that's why it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Proceed.
Okay, so I've had a proposal and a seconder. So everyone in favour? Anyone against? Anyone abstaining? Okay, thank you. Number 3. Receive items of correspondence.
Well, it depends how you sit.
Side saddle, you're okay.
Sorry. Thank you. Can you say that again?
Yeah, no, I don't have any specific items.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. 16, to note the Deputy Town Clerk has successfully passed a certificate in local council administration. Just to aside to that, can you just sort of brief us on what the significance of that is? Because I think it is really quite an important thing.
Well, oh, right, sorry. Get above my station now.
I would like my personal congratulations to Ian, because it's a huge amount of work. I've been through this myself. You have to present and demonstrate a whole load of knowledge relating to lots of things, whether it's planning, finance, project management, grant applications, and so much more, all the things that we do. And you have to put forward a portfolio to demonstrate that knowledge and refer to all the relevant legislation. So it's a huge achievement, and it's why it's so important for this council is that for a council of this size that is busy with all the activities and projects that we undertake, we need to have a qualified clerk. And you do already have in me, you now have two. Always good to have one in reserve. So, but no, it's very important because unless you have a qualified clerk, you do not have the general power of competence. And we need to have the general power of competence in order to run a library and to undertake new projects and this kind of thing. So it's absolutely critical for this council, so it's really important that you have a qualified clerk, or in this case two. So huge congratulations to Ian, it's a lot of work and really well done.
Just in, so how long did it take in the process?
Do you want the long story?
No, short story.
It takes around about a year's worth of work.
So it's a tremendous amount of work on top of your normal day-to-day work. So congratulations. Well done. Thank you. Okay, item 17, to note the date of the next meeting, which is Thursday, the 6th of August 2026. Okay, number 18, public bodies to consider passing the following resolution, that in relation to the remaining items on the agenda, publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of business to be transacted, and the press and public are instructed to withdraw. The following items are confidential and the meeting will proceed in closed session. So we have a proposal for that, please. Seconder. Okay, thank you. All in favour? Anyone against? Okay, any abstentions? Thank you, that's carried. So, thank you very much for your attendance this evening. It's my pleasure.